Going over 2016 and what happened, started off like gangbusters in January. Tons of deals were happening, rents were high, vacancies were low. The whole market was just really strong. Things were going great, almost like there wasn't a care in the world for everybody. And then all of a sudden, November hit, and there was a thing called an election. And all of a sudden, everybody went crazy. We had 3 questions that jumped out that I was hearing from clients all the time. The first question was, what is a Trump presidency going to mean for commercial real estate? Great question. The second, which you already said already, was what's going to happen with rent control and no-cause evictions. So those jumped out in the fourth quarter of November because of the elections. The third question that was on everybody's mind a little bit in the background all year was, are we going to be overbuilt? And what is that going to mean for apartments in Portland? Well, the first 2 questions with the election tie in. We'll get to that in a little bit. We'll get to the controversial stuff in a little bit. But the going over are we overbuilt question, just start with that real quick. It's been one of those weeks with the storm. I had a couple slides here for you, but unfortunately don't have, but I'll talk about them. Basically, if I looked at the map of all of the new construction that's going on and being proposed or approved or under construction. So I've made a map and put dots on where all those were. And if you look at that map, and I'll email this to all of you so you have it, about 80% of the new construction is either in the core downtown or along the I-5 corridor in North Portland, around 405 and I-5 corridor. So almost 80%. When we look at the map, what struck me is huge concentration of new development in the core, very few on the exterior and the east side and the southwest and the west side. You see a couple dots represented by the construction, but 80%, it looks like, just informally, is concentrated in the core. Then I thought, okay, where were the transactions in 2016? What location were those in geography-wise? And I looked at that map and made that map, and it was almost like looking at a reverse negative of the first map. It was 80% instead of in the core, 80% was out in the suburbs. And only 20% of the sales or less were in the core. So that really jumped out. You can see those side by side, and I'll send them to you so you have that. And that jumped out at me. And what does that mean, really? It probably could mean a bunch of things. It could mean nothing. But what jumped out at me, it's almost like there's 2 different markets going on in 2 different universes that aren't necessarily interacting with each other. I mean, yes, they're related, but it's not really the same market. I think what that means is if you're buying an apartment, you don't have to worry about competition from new construction because it's not, if you're buying, it's 80% chance you're going to be outside the core and there's not new building out in the core, so you're not competing against new construction. And if you're selling, when you sell, you don't have a ton of vacancies because you don't have a lot of new construction with taking up all your tenants. So it's kind of good for buyers and sellers of the market. And values seem to be holding and the vacancy rates are still low. So to answer the question, it just gives me an indication. My feeling is I don't think we're overbuilt. And I don't think we have any of the negatives associated with it yet. I don't know if you guys are experiencing that, but basically what it means is don't worry about it.